Good morning, everybody. Has everybody had a coffee? Yeah, is it? Oh yeah, sorry, we're running a bit late, so I've been tasked to shave off about 5 minutes. So if I go 5 minutes over, I've been told that's also okay. So I'll go as quickly as I can. Honestly, I'm going to try and keep this open, so if anybody's got any questions during the presentation, please ask. But I'm going to show you what I think is work in the new hybrid world. Is it working? Is it? Yeah, there's nothing on it. There we go. So I'll try and find out where I am. I think that's always a good start. So I didn't really put an agenda because I don't think it needs an agenda today. I think it needs some discussion points. And I think this is where people need to start thinking a little bit differently around digital workspaces and how we can get things done quicker. And I think what we need to look at is how can we do this where we're delivering today but also looking for the future. Told you it wasn't working. Yeah. My presentation is that good, it's a black font on a black screen. So there we go. So the future of work, it's a tough one to sort of answer when you're thinking about this. So what is the future of work? So it is, and I think it's all about where can I work? And I think the answer should really be depends on what you do. And like, how many people here work in an office and got a laptop? How many people work in a building and they use a machine that's fixed to an asset? One person? So what you've got to look at is the limitations and what people need. It's not about what you can do. And I suppose the thing is, it's saying to somebody, you've got the ability to do flexible working, but you're a bus driver. So you can't work from home. You've got to be on the bus. So in theory, it's basically, if you've got a fixed asset like somebody that works on a CNC machine or somebody that has a laptop, it's a different sort of world for these people. You can't turn around to somebody who sits in an engineering plant at JLR that we all saw as we came in, and they have to be on a CNC machine cutting parts for a car. You can't do that. But if they can get access and they need to do the design of it via a laptop or via a digital workspace, then absolutely they can work anywhere. So what we need to understand is, shouldn't it have really happened already? So, how many people started to look at doing digital workspaces or doing something around this when XP went end of life? Anybody? And have you finished? Yeah. So the problem that you've got is that applications were the problem then. It was not a case of applications have changed all of a sudden. Applications were the problem. It has not changed. The problem that we had were existing methodologies of moving applications from one operating system to another were not up to the problem. The problem was the fact that the application were tied to the OS. The OS should have been an independent part. So what we have to do is look at this. So digital workspaces have been around for a while. Who remembers old versions of, as Citrix are going to be presenting after me, WinFrame, MetaFrame, Tarantella, the really old ones, RDSH, the first versions of Windows Server. So they've been around for a while. So business continuity plans should have been included in the how, what, and when. So how many people have a business continuity plan that was ready when the pandemic hit? Ooh. So there's a few. So this is great. And the problem is, I worked at VMware for a number of years talking about this, and I said weather and a pandemic are the only reason to drive a mass EUC adoption. Who would have known a pandemic would have done this? The weather every time does it. If it snows, everybody goes, we all want to work from home. The problem is that the technology isn't there. So the catalyst should have been before the pandemic. And then we all found out very, very quickly, you can work from home. It's crazy. So I did a podcast, which is the DAB-CC radio one, the Douglas Brown one. And he actually asked me, what's the next wave? And I said, property law. And he looked really confused. And he said, why property law? And I said, as the big office buildings transfer from massive office buildings to residential, because if the big offices close down, these spaces can be used for residential. So what do we do? And where do we go with this? So in theory, is it working from anywhere, working from home, flexible working? You know, what should it be now called? So you basically have a desk, you have a chair, you have a laptop, you can work from home if you can. Is it just work? Is it just work with various levels of flexibility, depending on what you do? I think, who really loves the commute if you've got to go to London? This is the problem. If you can work and get probably more than your hours in on a day, which most people do if they're working from home, and you can work flexibly, then the businesses that are implementing these technologies are going to basically get more out of their workers. They're going to get better, happier workers. You can be more flexible around your home work-life balance. And some really interesting stats are this. So an interesting one was a company I used to work for reopened their office very recently in Palo Alto. Massive, lovely campus building. 99 people turned up, and you think, well, that can't be that bad. And then you think of, well, okay, it was fairly recently they turned up, and it has an 8,000 capacity. So if you have the ability to work flexibly, why would everybody en masse all of a sudden turn up at the office? It has got air conditioning, so as we're all sweating today, I would say the offices have got some benefits. And I say the hybrid work, should that be everybody has an aircon at home? Should that be the push everybody's saying to their people at work? I want an aircon unit. I don't know. But it's all going to be very interesting as we go forwards. And the thing is, what we're going to talk about today as well is what we call, what's a hybrid UX, or a hybrid user experience. So a hybrid user experience is where you work today. Is it important? You get a virtual desktop, you get a physical desktop. That's a digital workspace in theory. So, you know, you get an OS, you get applications. So what you need is your applications, because what you work with is what is important, not what you work on. So if you've got an application that you need to work on and it needs centralization, or you've got to be able to do certain tasks that need to be secure, then you'll get a digital workspace. You might have a physical workspace, a laptop, a PC. You may have to go into the office because it's tied to a CNC machine. But what we need to do is also add in the administration functions around compliance. And we need to be able to extend these beyond the digital workspaces as well. So I think we just had a load of stuff on security. Some of the really strange things that we find are, when we do applications, we look at how to move an application from point A to point B. We did 150 applications for somebody very recently from a credible source. And we basically put them through a scan to make sure that there was no weird sort of anomalies in there. From 150 apps, we got 6% that had viruses written into the code. These are common apps done by an application professional. Some of them are vendor applications, and they had some really bad ransomware. If you want to know what they are, go talk to Ryan afterwards. We'll be outside. 6%. Doesn't sound a hell of a lot, but if one of those gets behind the firewall, the wolf is behind the gate. So, you know, if it's in there, then you've got to think about how to stop it. So, how do we start with all of this, and how do we start? So, what we need to look at is learning from the past. If we're going to move applications, we need to learn from the past. So, what we need to look at is applications should be a historic issue. They should be now. Everybody should be on Windows 10, apparently, because if you're not within 2 versions of Windows 10, you're out of support from Microsoft. But you look at these stats, which are up to June. You can go online and get these up to date every month if you want to know the stats. But you look at the percentages here, and you look at Windows 10 is 64%, but Windows 7 is 22%. But then there's XP still on that list. And we're thinking here, there's XP. Hold on a second, XP's way gone, hasn't it? Hasn't it disappeared? Is somebody still using this? But the problem that you've got is this. If there's 2 billion PCs everywhere, and that XP is the right number, there's 25.2 million PCs still running XP. Who's been to a hospital recently and seen a blue screen of death somewhere? Probably the worst thing to say in a hospital at the moment, but they do occur. So the problem that you've got is this. We need to learn from the historic applications that we use and move them on. Move them to Windows 10 and get you onto a supported platform that you can work on. That was when XP went end of life. That's when Windows 7 went end of life, in theory. So what do we need to do? So what we need to look at is this. We need to get this application mess ordered. We need to get the applications into an ordered state in standard formats that can be moved and updated systematically. What we need to do is get away from the chaotic state of applications where they're not done in a standardized format and you can't move them forward, you can't check them. You have to look at now things like Evergreen. How do you make an application independent from the OS and then check it going forwards as the Patch Tuesday happens, the security update update happens, and the OS changes? Because if you're not within 2 of Windows 10 in the latest update, you're out of support. Microsoft won't help you. It's a crazy world. But we have an opportunity to start again. We can learn from what we didn't do with XP and Windows 7 and Windows 8 and Vista and all of those, and we can start again, and we can get control over the digital assets. We can get control over access to the digital assets, and we can get control over the maintenance and set parameters to work within. So you can be up to date when the OS changes and get your applications in a way that they can be moved forward very rapidly. So what we need to also understand is this. Everybody has got a unique IT footprint. Everybody. Everybody's got a set of parameters that are around platform profile and workload. I doubt there is 2 companies in here that have exactly the same, because everybody has different applications, they have different profiles based on a schema, and they have a different way to deliver. So what we've got to do is try and make this available to everybody across each of their individual footprints. So what do we need to look at is how do we deliver the hybrid approach? And who doesn't love Dilbert? You've got to look at the fact that you've got to do this without extending a time frame. If you try and extend a time frame, what's going to happen is you're going to run into, oh, this is a 2 to 3 year project. So we've just had, how long have we just had off? Doesn't it feel like we're on parole at the moment and we've just been let out a little bit? So we've all just had a load of time off and these projects have all stalled. So do you think it's really great that if somebody comes to you and says, okay, we're going to now restart your project and it's now another year to 2 years before we can do something for you? Shouldn't it be, can we get this done quicker? So what we've got to look at is this. We need to be able to move fast. We need to be able to move fast where you can deliver a digital workspace really quickly today. Yeah? If you want to do Citrix Cloud, you want to do any of the cloud services, how many workspaces can I deliver to you in a week? Anybody from Citrix in the room? How many can I deliver in a week? Lots. There we go. So you can deliver tens of thousands in a week. And if you're going to have a unique experience, it takes a lot longer. If you're going to have a bland experience and just deliver Office 365 on a Citrix workspace or a Microsoft workspace or a VMware workspace, whatever, you could deliver thousands of these. But it's not really unique to a company, is it? If you're delivering Office 365, it works. So the problem that you've got is this. Everybody will tell you, oh yeah, we've got to do the app delivery, and the app delivery takes a long time. So what we've got to do is move the project into a phase where the time and the workspace delivery, where people are happy. More projects than I wish to talk about end up like this. Because they say it's a 2-year project, it's a 3-year project. We're speaking to one at the moment, there's 400 apps and they said it was a 3-year project. We told them we could do the apps overnight. And the system integrator said, unfortunately, that they've signed for the 3-year project. Nobody is going to be unhappy if a project's done earlier. How many people in here would be unhappy if a project got done quicker? I don't think anybody would be unhappy. So, what we need to do is readdress the balance where the timeline is in lockstep with the workspace delivery. And this is where it becomes tricky. Because what we need to understand are things like, how do we do this and enable moving of applications and standardization and delivery to a workload which can be virtual and physical? So, we need an enabler. So, there's a talk later from Andrew at Microsoft. How many people are starting to look at the new format that Microsoft are putting out? How many people know there's a new format from Microsoft called MSIX? A few people? How many people know of the new delivery methodology called appAttach? There's one, you should know about it. Yeah. So anybody else? Yep. Anybody here use FS Logic for profiles? A few more. It's the same methodology, just for application workloads. So, if we can standardize on a Microsoft format, which is, they're learning from the appV, the MSI, the old formats, and they're looking this is to be the standard format going forwards for desktops, for servers. You can use MSIX and put Linux to Linux workloads in, Microsoft to Microsoft. You know, you match the OS with the application workload. It's a platform to go forwards with. Andrew might be talking about it. I haven't seen his video, but I bet he will. So what we need to do is reboot the landscape. So what we need to do is reboot the landscape. So what we can do is look at why is the hybrid approach required? Because we need to use a standard format for all applications with control and standardization. And with MSIX, you can put firewall rules within the application itself. Don't wrap the app, put it within the app. The app has a firewall rule written in it. Who can get access? Does it need a port? Does it go through a certain channel? So it does updating at a block level. Who thinks updating at a block level is fantastic based on user experience? Because you don't have to wait anymore. If you've got a 10 gig app that only does 264K blocks, you only send 264K blocks. Job done. And it's a native application experience. It's a Windows app experience that has all the same functionality, USB, video, everything. Have a look afterwards. If you want to have a game of pinball from a Windows 2000 image working on Windows 10, it's on a machine out there. Pinball. If anybody knows that, it's an administrator's dream. So, user experience up, yeah? What we also need to do is simplify the workloads. So what we need to do is look at things like appAttach or things like app volumes or the way Citrix can deliver things. And how do we do this where we can do a single gold image and then have the applications delivered based on who you are? Doesn't that sound like Nirvana? Shouldn't this have been roaming profiles, anybody? I don't know. Should it have been? But now they've got it and it does actually work. So what we can do is minimum OS images, lock the application delivery down, native application performance, GPO lockdown. There are formats now where you can basically have a disk image which is read-only, called SimFS. Has anybody seen it? It's read-only. So if you've got any security concerns, make your application read-only and write somewhere that the GPO sets. Simple as that. So what we're going to do there is simplify the creation of these images. So going forwards, as an administrator, you're going, oh, great, we can simplify stuff. But then what we also need to do is this. We need to reduce the administration time. Who loves being an administrator and actually spending all the time making the car run, not improving the car? And I don't think anybody does. Anybody? No. So if we can create one application set for organizational units and create one master image for the operating system and add compliance to it, we've all of a sudden added a winning formula. So if we can add these three pillars of user experience up, simplification down, and time down, all of a sudden we have this, a new delivery standard. If we have a new delivery standard, then what we can do is something that I love to call the compound desktop. So who knows about the compound desktop, composite desktop theorem? Anybody read about it? Am I the only person that ever reads theorems from 20 years ago? No? Yeah, so this is basically, you take a profile, you take apps, and you take data. If you can have these as individual sort of pieces and deliver to a blank OS, all of a sudden you've got the ability to deliver to a workspace. It can be any digital workspace, and you take the component parts and deliver an end user as they log on what they need. Domain authenticated, doesn't need to be domain joined. You can have people working at home on their home assets. And all of a sudden you can go, okay, flexible working, we need to work from home. How can we do this really quickly? But what we can also do is if you've got a physical asset, we can say if there's a doctor in a hospital and a nurse goes up to the machine and they've logged on and logged off, can we have multiple profiles? Yes, you can. They're just attached disks. So you just, when the doctor goes there, he gets his apps, and when the nurse goes there, they get their apps. Works in every single industry, financial services, banks, anything. A different user experience based on the user when they log in. And it's instantaneous. So, when we do this, it gives us a bit of flexibility. And you think, well, this is great, but how can we deliver this? But then, did anybody notice an announcement this week about some great new Windows 365, the cloud PC? This is just, it's great because Microsoft are getting in the game, finally. Citrix have had this for a while. VMware have had it for a while. It's a machine, but they've done it differently. They've based it on a desktop image. So basically, what you can do now is go back to this and go, hold on a second, I want to do this standardization between virtual and physical. Can I do this with anything? And what we find is this. We find that it doesn't matter, AVD, Windows 365, Windows 10, Server 2022, Citrix, VMware, Windows 11, it's just an OS. How do we deliver the component parts? So we've been working quite a lot with Microsoft and talking to the Microsoft teams, and we've developed something called the Application Delivery Agent. There's got to be a sales pitch in here somewhere. Anybody think? Yes. So what we're going to talk about is delivering what you need to the end users using a standard Microsoft methodology called appAttach, using MSIX as a standard methodology for capturing and converting the applications and then delivering them on. So what you have the ability to do is take an application, create it, deliver it through some form of authentication, take it, and then you're probably going, hold on a second, he's got things like the cloud, a local file store, and a USB stick. Absolutely. You want to deliver an application and you want to deliver it to a physical machine, deliver it to the physical machine, put it on a USB stick. When they log in, put the USB in, they will mount the apps. Take the USB out, the apps are gone. You want to deliver it from a cloud, less than 400 milliseconds is what you require. Do it from wherever you want, share file, if you're on Citrix. The applications will appear sub 400 milliseconds on your desktop as if they were native. We've tested it on Google Drive SharePoint? Yeah, we tested it. We've been testing it, sub 400 milliseconds. So if you've got people that are over the 250 milliseconds where they get a bad user experience with some of the digital workspaces, just give it from a physical experience rather than a virtual experience. But you can also deliver the physical experience to the virtual experience as well. So it's how do you want to control what the end user gets, where they're getting access to it. So, and what we are all about is this. If you want to come and talk to us about it, we are about moving faster. That is it. We are about capture, update, remediate, execute, get your applications moved, put them into a certain way, get them delivered, test them, put them into delivery on a physical or a virtual estate, and reduce those time scales to production. Get your people happy. And what we're going to do is do a demo. What you're going to be happy is I've sped the demo up because it's a video. And I'm going to show you about 4 or 5 demos in about 6 minutes. And I'm going to talk about them while they're going on. So, and then afterwards, watch what everybody else is talking about. Because what we need to understand is we need to understand the historic, but take that and move it forwards to the future. We've got to understand where we went wrong before so we don't do those mistakes again. So, hopefully the video will run. He says confidently. Yes. So, what we've got to do is be able to capture applications. So does anybody understand install capture? When you capture an installation and convert it to an MSIX. We can do, I think 48 seconds, we can convert an application from an installer to an MSIX. What we need to understand is, will it work going forwards? What we're all about is getting you to 80% converted and then worrying about the 20% that need extra help for around, it's an old app, it needs certain drivers, it needs certain parameters. How do we do this? This is us capturing an application. So you'll see how quick it is. I haven't sped this one up. There's some which I have sped up. You'll be thankful. The other thing is, don't just use one methodology. Use as many methodologies as you can. This is one from VMware called appCURE. If you use VMware, it's free. We've made it better. We've put a GUI on. We've CLI'd it completely. So this is sped up because it's the old way of doing an app capture where you have to reboot a machine. So 1980s, rebooting. So what we've got here is capturing it for things like app volumes. So if you want to test something, you've got to be able to test these apps to make sure that they are compliant and will work with the platform that you're going forwards with. So if you go with app volumes, you've got to test it. If you go with MSIX, you've got to test it. MSIX, you need to put a certificate in. So we package an application. So what we're going to do is package an application now. You're going to see Notepad++. The demo gods always love Notepad++. It's the smallest application you could possibly find. If you want to see something larger being done, we'll do a live demo of something like Storage Explorer, which is a modern application being converted to MSIX. So Notepad++, you need to add a certificate. Code sign certificates. Code sign certificates add a level of domain security, because if you don't have a certificate and you set a policy that only apps with the domain certificate will run, hallelujah. All of a sudden you can say no apps without a domain certificate will run on this domain. Happy days. We can allow you to create MSIXs, and if you create, let's say, 100 MSIXs, 200 MSIXs, you're going to think, if I need to put a domain in, cert in, it's going to be a real pain. 5 minutes per app. That's a whole couple of days gone, and I'm going to be bored watching paint dry. We've done it so you put them all in a folder. Once they've all been tested, apply the domain certificate, go make a cup of tea, come back, they'll be all done for you. They're done in minutes. What we're trying to do is ease the transition from one application set to another. We're not about delivery. This is what your platforms will do. So when this is done, we've even added time stamping. Who hates when a domain cert runs out and it's not been time stamped and you have to domain cert everything? Add a timestamp. Domain cert runs out, timestamp is there, continues to run. So if you've got, how many people have got app apps? Nobody? Anybody? Anybody know what app v is? No? So we can automatically convert app apps. So the one thing you've got to bear in mind here is you create an image, you put the app in, it's a virtual hard drive, the same as you do with an FS Logic profile. This is us doing it. It takes about a second to create a VHD. It probably takes another second to mount an MSIX and get it ready for you to use it. This is about speed of execution. Last year, we went to Microsoft and we said, it's great, we can do 10 apps an hour. I think we're up to now 40 to 60 apps an hour with full automation. How many people know Power Automate Desktop? Should be, yeah, a few. If you like scripting and you don't want to do this GUI, Power Automate Desktop is free to download. Use it on your PC. It's free. Go and have a look. It's brilliant. So we're going to show you how to do Power Automate Desktop and package a lot of applications all in one go. So what we're doing now is looking how to test an MSIX to make sure it works. You want to make sure every single application will work in the platform that you're going to choose. This is just a basic smoke test. I would suggest that if people are going to do these projects correctly, you either look at a QA or your UAT, getting users to actually test the applications to make sure that the applications work to the way the users want them. Users are the thing that will drive your business, not the applications. The user, if they're not happy, they will always moan, and the support line will be going. And what we're trying to do is get it to a point where the user gets their apps, they work natively, and they never phone you up. So this is just testing a few applications and packaging them ready to go. So this is package, ready, test, convert. What do you want to do? So, but if you don't want to do all of this GUI, because GUIs are old, and you want to do a PowerShell, and you want to go walk away, set a script running, and then go and have your lunch, or go and spend some time with your family, do it this way. And what this is going to show you is 4 apps in 3.5 minutes, and they're going to be packaged, certified, converted into a VHD, and also converted into a SIMFS format as well, ready to go. So you've got every single potential format that you would potentially need going forward. So that's 4 apps in 3.5 minutes. I have sped it up, otherwise this would be a really dull video. Any questions? No questions. Is anybody doing a project around this at the moment?
I've just spent some time on MSIX using the Microsoft tool and found it to be quite promising really. Watching this is just...
We can't tell you what Microsoft said about ours. No. So it's so that is 4 apps all done in 3.5 minutes, and you can see the timer at the bottom if it was still there. So I sped it up quite a lot, so it wouldn't last that long. So if you want to discuss what we're doing, there's a lot of material for you to look at. So we are MSIX partners with Microsoft. We were a WVD, as now AVD partners with Microsoft. Have a look. I think the slides are going to be available, so you don't need to. But there's a lot of video resources. All of this resource will be available, I believe, from the portal where you can go online. And that's it. Am I ahead?
I think you've done well enough, Steve. So thank you very much. Hopefully you all found that interesting. It's every time we stick in front of our customers, we see live what's going on. Quite really interesting stuff. So thank you very much to Steve. Do go and see the guys on the stand back.